After the notorious Inter Milan gang leader Vittorio Boiocci was shot down in the streets, Tobias Jones tested the changing face of a powerful sporting subculture. What did it mean for the gang leader? How is he able to get away with it? Find out by watching this video. On the 29th of October, a 69-year-old man was just outside his home in Via Zanzotera in the northwest of Milan. It was just moments before kickoff in the match between Sampdoria and Internazionale, and Vittorio Boiocci, nicknamed Lo Zio or known as the Uncle, was going back home to watch the game on TV. Because of his lengthy criminal record, he was banned from being in San Siro, the stadium shared by Inter and Milan. He had been drinking in Barreto at Bois San. A bike with 2 people aboard pulled up and fired 5 shots from a gun which hit Boiocci in the chest and neck. Vittorio was rushed to hospital in an ambulance, however died shortly afterwards. The news spread quickly across the terraces during the first half of the match. The hardcore fans removed their striations and long banners and fell silent. At halftime, they forced every fan in their section to go out the stadium, which is a sign of respect for their leader. This news spread through the north end of Giuseppe Meazza Stadium, and the stadium fell silent. Some fans gathered the banners as well as other merch used to cheer on the home side and who were playing a league game against Sampdoria. Several people ran up and down the stands, nervously talking into their phones. When the referee blew the whistle for halftime, a group of 10 or 12 ultras, which is the most fanatical of a soccer club supporters, began pushing and shoving thousands of people sitting in the Curva Nord towards the exits. The leader of the Inter Ultras, Boiocci, a criminal who spent 26 years in prison, had been murdered by 2 assassins who hit him 5 times an hour before the game. The boss was dead, and so the right thing to do was mourn. The Ultras started to empty the stands, forcing families who paid for their tickets, and it had nothing to do with the world of soccer, out of the stadium. Nobody connected whether or not the Inter Milan did anything to stop them, and to avoid the situation from escalating, also stepped aside. It was no doubt a horrible scene. The security guards in the stadium watched. However, when news of the execution of the leader, who was a convicted criminal with links to the 'Ndrangheta as well as the Cosa Nostra Mafia organizations, who were becoming interested in the business dealings of Italian soccer, appeared on their phones. Moreover, the police have launched an inspection to find out who carried out the murder and who ordered it. However, it seemed unavoidable that it was a settling of accounts. It was the 3rd killing of a leading ultra in 5 years, and evidence of the infiltration of organized crime into Italy's stadiums. Boiocci had spent over 26 years in prison. Also, his criminal career had started with hold-ups in banks along with supermarkets before going after wholesale narco dealing. Over the years, he'd been convicted of international drug trafficking, criminal conspiracy, possession of, also illegal carrying of weapons, robbery, kidnapping, along with theft. He even had contacts in the Sicilian, Calabrian as well as Puglian mafias. His last arrest was in 2021 when, lockdowns having dented his match income, he was intercepted by police as Boiocci was about to kidnap a Milanese businessperson. When stopped, Boiocci was at the wheel of a stolen car which had handcuffs and a taser along with a Guardia di Finanza bib. Also, the murder of Lo Zio was not the first professional hit on a capo ultra. In August 2019, Fabrizio Pischitelli, called Diabolic, was murdered with a shot to his temple in a park in Rome. The boss of the Irreducibili, Diabolic, the undisputed top dog of the Lazio terraces, had been involved in large drug deals and was attempting to take out a space in the crowded Roman underworld. In 2016, Ciccio Bucci, a former boss of the dominant Juventus ultras the Drughi, either committed suicide or was murdered from a high viaduct connecting Turin to Cuneo. He even had been an informer for the secret services, unveiling to them the infiltration of far-right extremists and also the 'Ndrangheta and also the Calabrian Mafia into the Juventus terraces. And so Boiocci's homicide went into the spotlight in the ultra world and its overlap with organized crime. In one recent wiretap, he had earnings of about €80,000 a month. He might have been gilding the lily, but he made vast sums through ticket touting and by extorting a cut on the parking fees profits from around the stadium. And since the release from his last stint in prison in 2019, Boiocci has caused ructions on the Inter terraces by trying to assert his leadership. His release coincided with intense difficulty for the Inter Ultras, and they'd been under media as well as investigative spotlights following the murder of Daniele Bellardinelli, when the Inter Ultras had surprised their Neapolitan rivals in December 2018. Bucci was found dead under Turin's so-called suicide bridge in 2017. A witness saw him reaching the railing just before midnight, which is a common enough sight at that location. Edoardo Agnelli, the son of former head of automobile giant Fiat, committed suicide in the same place in 2000. Bucci, who Juventus employed as a collaborator to serve as a liaison between the stands as well as the boardroom, did not have plans with Agnelli. Before his death, he had become an informer for the Italian secret services, who hired him to provide information on the links between organized crime and the Ultras, mainly regarding the Calabrian Mafia, against which he had testified in a recent trial. "I'm dead," Bucci said many times in the months before he was found in Turin. Then the case even affected Andrea Agnelli, who then testified at the request of the Mafia bosses. Moreover, Bucci was collateral damage, in which the stands of Italian stadiums have been converted into substantial meeting rooms for the organized crime organizations of every city in the country. The main business for mafias, mainly for the 'Ndrangheta, continues to be drugs, and the stadiums provide the muscle for many of those activities, including extortion, said an anti-mafia magistrate. But there comes a moment when the mafia leaders of the Ultras think they are up to the task, and that is when the problems arise. Boiocci then spent almost 30 years behind bars, serving sentences for 10 convictions, and was released in 2018. In jail, he made many contacts, but the world had changed in his absence. Also, the Milanese underworld he belonged to had become more refined, quieter, and less violent. He then returned like a bull in a china shop, getting his throne on the back of beatings and then causing a schism within the inter-ultras. And on one side were the new generation, who were not happy that business had come to overshadow soccer itself, and the old guard on the other. Then the business interest of the Ultras aside from narco-trafficking and extortion, the business interest of the Ultras is based on the resale of games and parking tickets outside the stadiums. Boiocci claimed to make $80,000 monthly through these activities at $10,000 a game. However, he wanted more. He then began to extort food vendors near the Giuseppe Meazza, along with many other individuals who provided illegal parking services. He said, "They work thanks to us, but the actual enterprise of the Ultras lies in drugs." That is their link to the mafias, the 'Ndrangheta, Italy's most powerful crime organization, as well as the principal importer of cocaine from Latin America. What are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed today's video and found it interesting, then make sure to leave us a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click on the bell icon to be up to date with the most exciting content as soon as it's uploaded. Thanks for watching. See you again soon in another video.